Rena, you feel where I'm coming from? It's felt very hateful. I don't know, Gilbert. And you're a type of person, he causes controversy, you know what I mean? He says some things that are controversial, which is fine. It's what you do when you're podcasting, you know what I'm saying? I get it. But the African thing, it was weird because African Americans and Africans already clash half the time. Africans get a stereotype that they hate African Americans and African Americans hate Africans, so they got us fighting amongst each other, and that situation doesn't really help out the situation. So, Gilbert, update your ignorance, man. Come on, press refresh. Come up with some better shit. That's all I'm saying. A Zimbabwe, a Zimbabwe, a Zimbabwe, a Zimbabwe.
That's our brother Godfrey. He's a Nigerian immigrant living in America. He's an African American. He's on code. He knows the game. I'd never heard him say anything disparaging about the black community within to the overall black community without and throughout the diaspora. He's on the team. This is not Elamuel Ocho. This is not Candace Owens, the Ku Klux Klan. This man's an immigrant, but he ain't no tether. You got me? Now, he has some words for our associate, Gilbert Arenas. And I want to go right to what this gentleman was saying, and I want to pour some juice. Matter of fact, I'll let Godfrey, the God, pour the juice. The bar just going to stir today.
Also some Africans. Yeah, God. Also some Africans. Yeah, God damn, dog. We almost lost to the king had to save us. I know the LeBron haters are mad. Almost lost to the Ahi tribe. Man, Embiid over there throwing the game. He throwing the game for his cousins and shit. What's the last team we supposed to lose to or be close with? They don't even have shoes. They get their shoes from America. We got to ship them shoes. They had to use the shoes that we have extra, leftover shoes. They use leftover shoes. They don't even have basketball rims, dog. Hey, listen, I'm going to just be honest with you. Like, they shouldn't have black jerseys on. They should just let that color go. Because I thought this shit was in black and white.
Did you hear that disgusting, deplorable, detestable language? You heard that? You see, I showed you Godfrey, the Nigerian immigrant, to bring balance in this teaching today, because the language which he used is beyond foolish. So we'll use this fool for a teaching tool today. And we're contrasting him between the immigrant not from Nigeria, Godfrey, who we embrace, who we accept as our full brother. But then you have other immigrants in the same land in America who have the same skin tone, who we reject. See, Godfrey said that the Africans and the African Americans were fighting, and we have to do a little pushback on that. See, let's be very clear. We don't classify Gilbert Arenas as us. We classify him as a tether. By the definition, an anti-black immigrant. That's by the definition of a tether, anti-black immigrant. So no, he's not disrespecting the black Americans, the black non-immigrants of America. He's not openly disrespecting them, but he is still displaying openly anti-black resentment and vitriol for the brothers and the sisters throughout the diaspora, namely in this case, Africa, Sudan the country. And while he mocks the current economic condition, he ignores the condition creator. He ignores those who have created such conditions. The reason why Gilbert Arenas is in America is because there was a group of people on the Western world region who embargoed his mother country, Cuba. And in this embargo against Fidel Castro, it made it uncomfortable and inconvenient for some people to live in Cuba. Thus, a migration. Many of the Cubans migrated to Florida, America. So, yes, he was birthed in America, but his cultural background is based from Cuba. That's why we call him or classify him as an immigrant, because he has an immigrant background. But that does not mean you are a tether because you're an immigrant. Godfrey ain't no tether. But this gentleman right here, he smells like a tether, talks and walks like a tether. And I repeat, no, he was not disrespecting the native black Americans or the non-black, the black non-immigrants of America. No, he was not disrespecting them this time. But he was showing open disrespect to the brothers and sisters throughout the diaspora. That's a problem for us. Huge problem for us. Listen to what he says. Listen.
What's the last team we supposed to lose to or be close with? They don't even have shoes. They get their shoes from America. We got to ship them shoes. They had to use the shoes that we have extra, leftover shoes. They use leftover shoes. They don't even have basketball rims, dog. Hey, listen, I'm going to just be honest with you. Like, they shouldn't have black jerseys on. They should just...
Let's take a look at this. So this is a high level of ignorance being displayed. But as I made mention before, you have a man that has a background in Cuba, cultural background coming from Cuba, while you're living in Florida around other anti-black racists who also migrated from Cuba. No, shout out to some of the Cubans in Florida. When I was down there, I had no problems with the people. I really did not. They were super cool and hospitable. So I'm not knocking them on an individual basis. They was cool with the bar. But I probably get passes that some people don't. And I've been hearing a lot of reports about the Cuban immigrants having anti-black resentment in Florida. They say the levels are exhausting. And we have evidence of this. How about the gentleman right here? The Proud Boys leader. He was sentenced to 22 years in prison. He was a crash dummy for the white supremacist group, the Proud Boys. And you look at this gentleman and you see how melanated he is. You think he's almost a brother almost, but he's not. He's an other. Understand? He's a tether. Straight up and down tether. And if you see him in the summertime, he almost, I ain't say is, almost as dark as the bar. You understand? And he was the leader of the white nationalist group. Now, where is he from? He has a cultural immigrant background from where? From Cuba. Where did he grow up and where does he live? In Florida. I'm not comparing necessarily Gilbert Arenas with Enrique Tarrio, but I am showing you a cultural background. I'm showing you a pattern. Let me show you something else. Majara La Raza. What's that mean? This is a cultural code which permeates throughout much of South America to this day. South America being a slave quarters for the majority of the slave trade, some of those ideologies, they're still there. Some of those ideologies are still worldwide implanted in cultures and subcultures. So we're not knocking the people, but we are giving explanation. They have a cultural code that many of them abide by, which states make the race better, improve the race, make it a higher quality. These terms are usually subjective, but when you put them along the lines of a cultural code, the way they translate is, down in South America, is let's make the race lighter. Let's try to make it whiter. That's the code. Not for all, but for many. Some countries like Argentina have went as so far to actually exterminate their original black populations. Quickly, Bolsonaro, the former president of Brazil, was a right-winger. He tried to create anarchy within the country of Brazil. One of the ways was through racial antics, racialized antics. And he really can't walk around Brazil anymore. And where did he go? After he resigned, or excuse me, after he lost his presidency, the president election to the now President Lula, he went to Florida. See, there's a safe haven down there under the covenant, the governor, the Satan. Many people from South America who have this anti-black racism, they tend to feel quite at home in Florida. Majorar la raza, make the race better, usually means make the race lighter, make it whiter. They have a color code indoctrinated within them. The world does, in fact. The world does, in fact, because the world is currently controlled by global white supremacists, or shall I say, intended global white supremacists, because this system will eventually die, crash, and burn. It's an unnatural and unnatural system in this universe. But for the moment, it still stands. For the moment. And so in this moment, these cultural terms, these cultural codes, they play out in real time. Majorar la raza.
A lot of his jokes were old, right? They were a little dated. I thought maybe he watched some old footage of Comic View and Def Jam and some YouTube videos from the 90s and together. It was a little off-putting. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Where are you coming from with this? You know, and why are you surprised that Africans have athletic talent? You know, that rant reminded me of like when you get some white guys, they'll be by themselves in a room and they decide to be really racist, but they look both ways and they go, hey, did you see the Sudanese basketball team? Oh, Jesus. Who brought Amistad on the court? I think I see Jaimin Hansu trying to make a layup. Hey, Kunta Kinte, nice shot. Oh, did they get fed before they came on there? I'm surprised I didn't see any flies on court. It reminds me of that Soul Glow dude in Coming to America who was asking Eddie Murphy at the basketball game, man, you from Africa? You probably be chasing lions and shit. I hope that you keep that same energy for the European teams. Let's say the European teams have a close game. I hope you keep that same energy.
Keep that same energy. Saying his jokes were old and outdated like they sounded from the 1990s Comic View. Because in the 1990s, information was locked in. There was no internet. We could not disqualify the information that was given to us by the white racists through their institutions like National Geographic, which painted the Africans in a very, very distasteful way. And in fact, it was movies like Coming to America, which showed Africa in a positive sense, directed and produced, I believe, by Eddie Murphy, a black American. And so what you saw in that movie with the Jerry Curl juice head, black American, who was ignorant as all hell, ignorant like Gilbert Arenas is still today, that was in the 80s and the 90s. That was not an uncommon thought with black Americans based upon the training and the mental conditioning, the brainwashing they received about Africa. But in the year 2000, the internet broke, and then podcasts and more information became more freely flowing. So now you could Google certain cities in Africa and see the development of it. You had to basically will yourself to stupidity today. Godfrey is saying here, he's saying keep the same energy, because you're kicking the low-hanging fruit of the blacks throughout the diaspora, but you have no energy for the Serbians. See, this is the hypocrisy of the situation. I pour juice fairly and evenly. To alkaline the body, you got to be balanced. So men like, or tethers like Gil, will disrespect the economic conditions of the people of South Sudan while ignoring those who created the condition. The white racists, the globalists, the bankers, and the political Zionists who created these conditions, the same exact people who have embargoed his mother country of Cuba. The whole time we didn't know he's not a black American, he's a tether. Godfrey is saying keep the same energy, because the same conditions which took place with the embargo in Cuba under Fidel, the same situations where civil war at the stage was set there, the same people doing it in Cuba, same people doing it in Sudan. Guess what? Keep the same energy. I'll do it, no problem. Those the same exact people, huh? These the same exact people that did it to Serbia. How about that one? Global white racism will sacrifice other Europeans or so-called white people. And we make note that most Europeans don't classify themselves as white, but we understand that global white supremacy tries to preserve them. Still, nonetheless. And at the same time, will sacrifice them. Ukraine today, and Serbia yesterday. Serbia was once known as Yugoslavia. And then when the Clinton administration okayed the bombing of it, it split, becoming Serbia and Montenegro. And Serbia is a new developing country, and they have evolved. I was there. I used to work out with these guys. I know of their diligence. I know of their work ethic. I know how cold it is in Serbia. I know it's freezing there. But I know they put that work in too, so I give them a lot of props. But the same situation which took place in Serbia is a similar situation which took place in the South Sudan, was a similar situation which took place in Cuba. Okay? Okay? But Gilbert, being an anti-black immigrant tether, an anti-black immigrant, which is a tether, he only kicks the low-hanging fruit of the blacks and the diaspora. You see how that go? You see how that go? So today we let the God Godfrey pour, Juicebarr stirred. That's the word.